Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Bonsai, Dr. Bonsai's Meme Emporium, and tonight I have for you one of the components of the Age of Darkness box set, which is your Tactical Marines. Now, in this box, you get 40 of them, and when I first discovered they were kind of single pose, I was skeptical. I was like, single pose, that's usually not a recipe for success. But I was pleasantly surprised. And after knocking out 10 of these guys to form a standard 10-man squad, I'm actually quite impressed as far as all the accessories and everything go. So let's kind of get into it. So each kind of squad, if you will, or if you were to buy it at retail, I believe you get one of these sprue, which is kind of like the sergeant's commander bit sprue, and then you get two of these, which are actually, one second, let me check something. No, I stand corrected. You get two of these sprues, and then at least one of these if you get the retail version that's separate from the Age of Darkness box set. So what we have here is we have our kind of command sprue, and then we have this sprue duplicated. So in this box you have 40 tactical marines, so that's what, 8 sprues, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Yeah, 8 sprues of identical miniatures. And you think to yourself, oh my god, identical miniatures. I can't do it. The way you can make this interesting for yourself, especially if you like building models, I'm one of those weirdos that likes building plastic models for some reason. Especially if you're a guy like me, there's a lot of goodie in here. There's a lot of mileage you can get out of these guys. So not least of which is the fact that they are kind of the basis for your special weapon squads, your heavy weapon squads, that kind of thing. So it makes it easier, at least a little bit, to add a lot of variety. And by necessity, I think GW made this a very versatile kit and very brilliantly engineered, might I add. So first things first, we start off, we get, kind of our normal bases, which are 32 millimeter, I believe, these days. Newfangled 32 mil bases. And then you get each one of these. So as you can see, so you see each one of these areas is each one of these little quadrants, or one of these little 5 areas, is a Space Marine. So this right here, you can knock all this off the sprue, and that's a Space Marine. So same thing here. You do all this. Now the thing that is this is where the brilliance of this comes in. Not only, and let me see if I can zoom in here. So you see those little nubs, those little notches? You see the little holes, the little kind of matching kind of trapezoidal holes in the arms? Those line up. Now the further brilliant part is those line up with those nubs regardless of which body you choose, which is critical. So let me actually demonstrate. So you've got this body right here, which is kind of walking forward, and he's got his gun angled down. Also, I like the fact that the Space Marines in this box have good trigger discipline. Every other Space Marine GW has ever produced has always got their booger hook on the trigger, but they've got it out of they got their meat hook out of the trigger guard, so that's good. And then so you have this guy who's walking forward, kind of looking to where he's going, and he's got he's got the squad standard. And then you have this guy who is kind of leaning back, kind of bracing himself, kind of scanning the battlefield, and then he's got the gun exactly the same, completely different bodies, but this is how you can get variety out of this box set. And that's how that's done. Now, something that I think a lot of people complain about is this. I understand why they did it. I'm just not a fan. I'm really diligent about cleaning my mold lines, and this was just really difficult. You can do the thing where you take like a couple of pieces of offcut sprue and you dissolve it in some Tamiya extra thin or whatever your local equivalent is, and it kind of makes like this sprue goop. So you can just kind of fill it in, and then you're able to, with that sprue goop, then smooth it out with the normal Tamiya extra thin, and that's how you get that done. So I'm either going to have to do that, or I'm going to have to get some sort of plastic filler putty, because these mold lines are gnarly. So let's actually take a look at the Sargent here. As you can see, I did my best to try to erase that line with an X-Acto knife, but as you can see, just big ass valley running right through the middle of it. So so what all do you get on this sprue? So obviously you get the Marines, then you get on the command sprue, you get 10 pistol holsters, you get an Auspex, you get 10 bayonets, you get a lightning claw, you get a power fist, you get a plasma pistol, melt bomb, just kind of pouches, rebreathers, a piece for the Vox set, the Nuncio Vox, the Legion Vexilla, a power fist, and this comes in the fist, the thumb, and then the hand, and then you use an arm that's on the Marine sprue to get your power sword hand. So that's pretty much the sprue. You get a great variety of heads. So this guy is here for the Nuncio Vox, and you get the really tiny piece. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. This goes actually on the head of one of the Mark IV helmets. Let me actually show you what that looks like. That's the Vexilla. Here we go. So there's actually a little thing that just, no positive location point either, which is kind of but you just kind of tack it onto the side of the head, and it looks okay. And as you can see, I went with the optional chain bayonets because I'm a noob, and I saw the rules, and I think they sound cool, and I think they look good, so I went with that. And that's the thing, before everybody starts to get sweaty in the comments about like, oh, you're taking chain bayonets. What? Ugh. This is a passion project. I'm actually going to be getting an airbrush and actually going to be going after this and trying to make this a good project army. So I'm not just rampantly consuming. That was when I made this purchase. That was the promise I made to myself, is that I'm not just going to be one of these brain dead GW consumers. Is I'm actually going to take my time, enjoy this army building process, and I'm going to build what I want, and I'm gonna try to stay out of the resin range and just dip my toe into the plastics, because I think GW has a lot of good plastics for this range. So anywho, so you have all this. You have your crack grenades, you have your Auspex, which actually I was like, huh, what's this do? And I checked the rules, and this actually gives you a lot of cool little benefits. So I think all my squads are going to just have the triad of a Nuncio Vox and Auspex and a Legion Vexilla, because it's like, that's actually kind of tight. So for this, you also get your crest for your Sergeant. So, and as you can see, he's got his plasma pistol, and at first I thought I had put this plasma pistol on wrong, because the arm kind of requires a certain cant to the wrist and whatnot to make this not look stupid. The power sword is really great. It is super fine and thin. I don't know if you guys are able to see that, but shockingly thin and actually realistic, insofar as anything in 40K is realistic, but or 30K for that matter. It looks fantastic, and the Power Fist looks really good. The Lightning Claw assembly looks really brutal and fun looking. So probably the two other squad guys I'm gonna get are gonna get that. Um, so I really like this box. I think there's some engineering things that I think they could have done without. Like, I don't like it when GW, they always do this too. They always put the sprue points on the exhaust vents of the backpack, which are rounded and really hard to get cut down. There's usually really prominent mold lines right along the side, and I think that's just nature of the beast of these Space Marines being as big as they are now, with the pressures that you're dealing with, and the general size and difficulty and complexity of the mold. So it's like, I want to be mad at it, but I don't know that I can legitimately without sounding like an asshole. So there's that. The bolt guns and everything look great. Limitations of the box set: it doesn't give you. Now, I know it's not realistic to say, oh, I don't have. They didn't give me everything in the box for my sergeant. Well, duh. Of course they're not going to give you that, because that's really kind of unreasonable, because sergeants have access to combi weapons, all the different combi weapons. They have access to pistols, swords, bolters. They have this huge range of war gear they can take. So for me, I think kind of the line, they had to draw a line of like, okay, we gotta limit the number of options here in this box, so that obviously you can create a need, because again, this is GW we're talking about. They're not gonna piss on us and lie to us saying that it's gonna rain. They're like, no, this is what we're gonna do to make money. So they put the most common options that you're probably gonna put on your Space Marine. So plasma pistol, lightning claw, power fist, power sword. Those are all solid choices, and I think that most players would probably want that. But limitations of the sprue: they don't include a standard bolt pistol. They don't have a bit to show the Space Marine, the sergeant, with their bolt gun kind of just like not in use or slung, which I think is always missing from the sergeant models, because you can give them a power sword, you can give them a plasma pistol, but that doesn't delete their bolter. And simultaneously, there's no, unless you just make him like a standard Space Marine, kind of holding his bolter pose, there's no real great way to display that. So that would be my chief criticism, is that the most common options, which would be for a Space Marine sergeant or a legionary sergeant, which would be bolt pistol chainsword, are not in the box. And there's no way for you to have kind of like a stowed bolter for him, in order to kind of show, okay, I have my bolter, so you can be completely 100% WYSIWYG, because GW does this thing where it's like, we're WYSIWYG, make sure you equip your models with what they actually have. And then they're like, oh yeah, your Space Marine sergeant, you can give them a plasma pistol and a power sword, and it doesn't delete the bolt gun from the model. And it's like, well, do you want them to be WYSIWYG or not? So that's my biggest issue, is that the more common, the more kind of common or banal options are missing. So that would be my chief criticism. But that is also ameliorated somewhat by the fact that even though they're monopose, they're extremely versatile. Like I said, they're going to give you your power armor, your standard support squads, your special support squads, your special weapon support squads with the add-on box. They're going to give you your devastators with the heavy weapon add-on boxes. The arms work no matter which kind of body you put them on, which I think is just, that's some sort of, there's got to be some sort of mathematical sorcery at play that I am just too smooth brained to understand. But stuff like that, kind of like bigger picture stuff, is why GW has such a great reputation. So for me, um, the builds for these guys went really fast. They were really fun. The options were, are fairly limited, but then again, they're Space Marine legionaries. They don't get a whole lot of options, which is fine. Um, uh, they kind of lose points though for the lack of sergeant options, specifically the normal, in air quotes, the standard bolt pistol, chainsword, dedicated bolter for the uh, sergeant that you would want to have stowed. But it's got your Nuncio Vox, it's got your Legion Vexilla, it's got your sergeant parts, it's got your augury scanner, it's got all the things that you would want in a particular Space Marine unit, especially like a 10-man, a nice, versatile, tough 10-man squad. So for me, the question I have for myself is like, are these things worth getting upset over? And the answer is no, especially since I believe GW said later this summer they're going to be releasing a Space Marine Command Squad, which is probably going to be a unique box that's going to give us some of those more generic options that we can raid the bits box for. So otherwise, I really enjoyed this build. It was not arduous at all. Kind of the low point for me was the split studded shoulder pads, and I realized they did that from an engineering standpoint, which again I appreciate, but I don't think it was worth it as far as like the amount of effort to correct it. But other than that, I would rate this box probably a 4 out of 5. These models in general, for ease of build, options, um, visual variety. This is definitely a solid 4 out of 5. So I look forward to throwing together a couple of Cataphracti next, and showing some of those off. Those actually come 5 to a double wide sprue, so those are probably going to take me a little bit longer to build. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for your time, guys. Have a great night.